NFL draft start. And man, oh man, I have to make my personal opinions on who the Chargers must draft. Not just the first round, but the first round is the one that really is gonna make or break me. But the lower rounds, I'm just gonna give my personal opinions, and I'm not as picky. But you'll see what I'm gonna be talking about. Um, I try to make a video, and then it was like a bunch of like films as well too about like why the Chargers. I'm gonna just spoil it right now. Why the Chargers should take Malik Nabers, but it failed to upload for some reason, which definitely sucked. I guess when I used some clips, I guess like it just didn't like upload or something. So I'm just sticking to your typical screen recording. But anyways, round one. For me, I'd say it's Malik Nabers or Marvin Harrison Jr. or bust. I don't want any other options. I do not want O-line. I do not want Joe Alt. Joe Alt, he plays the same position as Rashawn Slater, so it doesn't even matter. Man, when you play him at right tackle, it's gonna be terrible. And I do not want to trade down either. I absolutely do not want defense. I don't want to trade down. Um, when you see players like Malik Nabers or Marvin Harrison Jr. on your board, you just take them without a doubt. And I could see them becoming like one of the best wide receivers in the league, like especially Malik Nabers. And I'll even take a step further. If I had to pick who who I think is gonna have a better career between Malik Nabers and Marvin Harrison, I'd say Marvin Harrison. He's the more safer pick, and he has like a higher floor because he's more like physical and he's bigger and still has the speed. But if I had to say who could have the more upside and who I'd like to see with Justin Herbert more, I'd go with Malik Nabers. And if I had to pick, I'm going Malik Nabers. Um, so many, so many reasons why we have to take Malik Nabers. Um, the most popular thing right now is they're saying trade down to fill a lot of holes. But the thing is, you didn't. There's a good chance if you do that, you can still be back to square one because those prospects that you're getting in return does not have a ceiling anywhere near Malik Nabers or Marvin Harrison Jr. Not even Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers, I think he's pretty good, but he's no Malik Nabers. Um, there's no Patrick Surtain level type prospect, and even there was, I'm still taking Malik Nabers because I don't think anybody can guard Malik Nabers one on one at most of the time. Um, and plus, you need to pair Justin Herbert with a weapon, especially since Keenan Allen got traded. Even when Keenan Allen was here, the Chargers always needed a weapon that can explode, and Malik Nabers is the perfect guy. Um, you know, like you can always quote unquote fill the holes, which is pretty much would be defense and the interior O line somewhere else. Um, Like, next year, it's a really stacked corner class. A lot of defense. If you look at next year's mock, you see all defensive linemen, cornerbacks, and O lines. Not too many receivers. So this is why you take Malik Nabers. If I could compare Malik Nabers and Marvin Harrison, my comparison for Marvin Harrison is Julio Jones, prime Julio Jones, probably even quicker. Maybe even like just his dad. His dad, Marvin Harrison Sr. Now for Malik Nabers, I compare him to Jamar Chase with a mix of Tyreek Hill. And his ceiling is a more level headed version of prime Antonio Brown. You cannot guard Nabers, bro. Like there's so many things you could do with Nabers. Like if you want to throw a long bomb, you could do it with Nabers with ease. Could be especially compliments big on like Justin Herbert. If you want to throw a little quick slant, um, he could definitely take it for at least like 10 yards. A dump off, same thing, 10 yards. Um, that's just what the Chargers need. Um, the main debate is going offensive line. I see that if you take offensive line, having a good O line is really good, and I always love to see Justin Herbert to get protected. But from what I've been watching from the Chargers, rewatching some of the games, I s- I'm starting to see that offensive line is pretty useless with how slow our wide receiver room is, and that's with Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen, he's a good Charger legend, pretty great player, but that guy is not like an explosive type. He's more like technique. Like he can make it work, but he's not the type who would just have that burst like a Tyreek Hill. And what I always wanted Justin Herbert to have is I wanted him to have his Tyreek Hill. And Malik Nabers is that guy. And we cannot afford to pass him up. I could, like, in my opinion, if we pass up Malik Nabers, um, whether it's O line or defense, I could see Justin Herbert, um, getting sacked so many times, or or you just pretty much passed up a future Hall of Famer because that's how I see Malik Nabers is. Um, because if you trade down, let's just say for defense, I don't know if that guy, let's just say Terry Arnold, I don't know if he's gonna be, um, like a Patrick Surtain or a Denzel Ward, or is he just gonna be a J.C. Jackson or like a lineman? I don't know if he's gonna be a Nick Bosa or I don't know if he's gonna be Jerry Tillery, um, or Kenneth Murray. With Malik Nabers, um, I don't see any scenario that he becomes a draft disappointment. Not forget about draft bust. I'm confident he's not going to be a draft bust. But this guy, he has all ceilings and a very high floor as well too. Marvin Harrison, he's safer, but Neighbors got that upside. And in my opinion, if the Chargers pass up Neighbors or Harrison Jr., which includes a trade down, it's malpractice. It's pure malpractice. Because he just wasted Justin Herbert prime. Because the thing is, even with a not perfect offensive line, if you have a guy like Malik Nabers can negate the O line because Justin Herbert can throw the ball out quicker. If you try to perfect the offensive line or you try to gamble and try to fill the holes, Justin Herbert's going to be forced to hold the ball longer. And of course, a lot of people they say, "Oh, it would just start a run game or something," but you can't just be trying to limit Justin Herbert's potential. Um, you can't just make Justin Herbert just hand off the ball to the running back and then just end up in the middle of the pile and then not even convert the first down at times. Um, like you got to get Herbert the weapons. You got to set the foundation. Just take Malik Nabers, then worry about the holes later. Because the so-called holes, getting the O line or defense, you can always find them during the trade deadline. I mean, look, um, Jalen Ramsey got traded for a third round pick, man. Like that's that's one perfect example. Or Montez Sweat or Chase Young got traded for like a third, or I guess the most was the second round pick. I don't remember. Um, so and plus the O line problems for the Chargers is not the tackles. It's mainly from the center, and that's Will Clapp, and he's gone. So we got Bozeman, and that can be found in the second round. But whatever the Chargers do, you have to take Malik Nabers or Marvin Harrison, or else the O-line's going to get gassed, Justin Herbert's prime will be wasted, and he will still get sacked. Because 3 extra seconds of protections does not do much if WR1 Joshua Palmer takes 20 seconds to get open, because that's how long our receivers take to get open. Look at the Bengals. The Bengals, when they took Jamar Chase, the year right after, they went to the Super Bowl. And yes, you can say they have good defense, but Jamar Chase really helped unlock Joe Burrow. And the Bengals, how good is their offensive line? It's pretty much like Colorado with Shador Sanders, or um what else? Or the Carolina Panthers. They had an abysmal offensive line. The Chargers, the O line is not like good, but it's far from being bad. And it's more from, the interior, which you could go for like the second round, or in the lower rounds, which is you gotta go for the center. Um but yeah, Chargers. For the love of goodness, just take Malik Nabers for the mental sanity. Let Justin Herbert have his own Tyreek Hill and let him launch it. Okay. Now I went I think I finished my Malik Nabers propaganda rant. Now, who else would I love to charge to draft? Um for the second round, I'm not too picky. You could do many things. Um Chargers, I kind of like going for like a center just so you can have a nice offensive line. That's where you get that balance. And you could probably like trade down as well too. Get like a Zach Frazier or JPJ. Like trade down, maybe get an extra third round pick. Another option is obviously go for a cornerback because that's what we also need. We need someone who can play defense. Or another interesting option is double dip in wide receivers and get another wide receiver like a Ricky Pearsall or a Xavier Leggett. Um, this wide receiver class is pretty stacked, and I think the Chargers should heavily invest it. Um, After we take Malik Nabers, get a good WR2 because there are some wide receivers in the second round that could be like a star as well too. So obviously, round one, take Malik Nabers because Malik Nabers, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. And I think Malik Nabers will be the best wide receiver, not just in this class, but I say in this league. I never seen a guy this explosive as Malik Nabers. So definitely taking another wide receiver in round two is not a bad option. Um, so those are the three options. I'm not, like I said, I'm not too picky. If we could get Xavier Leggett, that'd be pretty cool because he's pretty physical and explosive. Only catch is he's a lot older, so that's the catch. But he kind of plays like DK Metcalf, and then Ricky Pearsall. Um, he's kind of like a Cooper Cup type of guy, so he could be pretty solid too. Um, pretty good catcher. And I know that I don't like the idea of trading down, but this one deal kind of interests me. Well, or two deals actually, I guess. One deal is you trade down with the Vikings, you get the 11th pick and a 23rd pick, and then also preferably you get another first round pick next year, and then the Chargers trade back up to the Atlanta Falcons, and you could still maybe get Malik Nabers. Rome Odunze, if we get Odunze, I won't be too mad because Odunze could also be pretty good. He reminds me of like a Devontae Adams. I just prefer to get Malik Nabers. But the reason why I'm considering this option because I could see the Giants taking a chance at Odunze over Nabers. Because Odunze, he's more of a refined technique, route running type receiver. He's not like as explosive as Nabers, but the Giants, they already got a very explosive receiver in Jalen Hyatt at speedster. So it is possible that the Giants can go with Dunze, and then if the Giants go with Dunze, then I think Neighbors is ours because the Falcons, they want to get an edge, so they don't mind the idea of trading down, doing a three-team trade down, and then the Titans, they're pretty much all in for going for a left tackle like Joe Alt or Olu Fashanu, and then Neighbors is our. Then we get an extra draft capital and a 23rd picks, and then we can maybe go with Nate Wiggins. That would be a really nice option to think about. So if we trade down, I don't mind that scenario. Um, and the second idea is, I guess you just trade down with the Titans, I guess, because you know, the, just take Joe Alt at 5, and then trade down with the Titans and get like an extra draft pick, probably like a third rounder, I guess, or a fourth rounder or whatever. And then we could still get Neighbors if the Giants go a Dunze. That can be an option too. But for me, if I was a GM, I'm just gonna play it safe and get Malik Neighbors. But if we trade down and still get Malik Neighbors, I would be very ecstatic. But anyways, um, for the third round pick, um, which is I think that's probably the last true round I'm gonna be describing, and then probably like I'll probably just talk a little bit about the fourth and the seventh round. I don't know too much prospect that down low, but anyways, another person that I want almost as bad as I want Malik Neighbors is Braylon Allen. Braylon Allen, he's a running back from Wisconsin, and I think he's like a third round pick. Some say he's a fourth, but I'd take him in the third rounder just to play it safe. Braylon Allen, he's a physically strong, burly running back. Um, you know, Braylon Allen is pretty strong, and he's only 20 years old, but his body is basically fully grown and fully developed. He's 6'2", and he's a power back. The Chargers long needed a power back like Braylon Allen, and considering that he's pretty young and he could take a lot of contact, he would be so good for the Chargers run game. And this is what, and this is how I kind of counter the O line people at 5 because um Braylon Allen, he could have he like even with a flawed O line, Braylon Allen can make it work. He could absorb contact, and the Chargers run game problem. Yeah, the O line's not perfect, but you got to remember Austin Ekeler is the running back. It's not like Saquon Barkley's with the Chargers and he struggled. No, Austin Ekeler is arguably, well, most likely is the worst starting running back in the league last year. That dude is not even a true running back. He just catches from Herbert and kind of plays like a wide receiver that runs like a running back. Like he's not a true running back. So I think if you get Braylon Allen, he could help punch you through a lot more, even with the not too perfect O line. But I kind of do like to help the O line, so I probably like would take a center in the second round. Or if the Chargers don't take a running back at all, you can also go with a center in the third round, like a Cedric Van Pran. That could be another option, but I really want Braylon Allen. We got to try to get a nice running back like Braylon Allen, like a strong, physical running back. Like, he's going to be pretty good. Jonathan Brooks from Texas, he's kind of growing on me too, but I want a true power back. And Brooks, he kind of showed some some moments of being a solid like guy who could take contact, and he is way more bursty than Braylon Allen, but I want power, and Allen is that guy. Blake Corum, I'm not too high on him. I don't want Blake Corum. I want Malik Nabers and Braylon Allen. And then I think that's pretty much like my favorite bucket list. And for like the fourth and the seventh round, um, I like some players I'd like to see the Chargers get. I'd like to get Renardo Green from Florida. He's a cornerback. I think he could be a steal. He gave Malik Nabers a rough time, and I think he's gonna get slept on. Renardo Green's not gonna go higher than like the fifth round because he's an older prospect, but that's pretty good. Like obviously Renardo Green, I don't think he's gonna be no Patrick Surtain, but he could be one of those like kind of like a diamond in the rough, like a he could be a solid enough cornerback. So that's my bucket list in a very low round. Another person who I really like is Tavondre Sweat. Get that get that defense, like get a big dude who will stuff opposing teams' run game. And he committed some type of crime too, so his stock is gonna go pretty low. So that's like another potential bucket list for the very low rounds. I also like Brandon Fisk as well too. Um, but yeah, that's just my opinion on how the Chargers should draft. So round one, Malik Nabers or Marvin Harrison or bust. Two, the second round, I'm not too picky. Many options. Just double dip wide receiver. Get a corner, trade down, and probably do every little bit of that. Or try to get a franchise center. I don't mind too much about the second round. Third round, get Braylon Allen. He's a beast. And then in the lower rounds, I'm gonna let Harbaugh do his thing. If the Chargers don't get a receiver second round, I kind of like this guy named Malachi Corley. He's kind of a little bit like a Brandon Ayuk or a Debo Samuels type player, so he can be an option as well too. But that's I think that should definitely wrap up this video. Um, thank y'all so much for tuning in. And Chargers, please, please, please take Malik Nabers. If the Chargers don't take Malik Nabers, I'm gonna be as not as mad because nothing can top the day when the Clippers passive GG Jackson because that was like the worst day of being a sportsman. But I'll be almost as mad. Let's just say that. So Chargers, don't mess it up. Get Herbert's real weapons that he needs and take Malik Nabers. Peace.